Some nights, after my children fell asleep, I would sit alone at the kitchen table, crying quietly, wondering how much longer I could survive pretending I was okay.
Welcome back to God Showed Up Stories. Tonight's story is for every single parent carrying responsibilities that feel impossibly heavy. It's for the people rebuilding life after emotional pain, heartbreak, fear, and exhaustion. The people trying to stay strong for their children while secretly falling apart inside. Sometimes survival itself becomes exhausting. And if you've ever felt ashamed of where life ended up, this story is for you. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. And comment below. Have you ever gone through a season where you felt emotionally exhausted, but kept going anyway? Never forget this. God often sends healing through ordinary people who choose kindness at the exact moment someone needs it most. God Showed Up Stories, Christian Motivation, #single mother faith stories, healing journey, hope in hard times, Christian encouragement, emotional healing.
When I packed up my children and left that relationship, I honestly thought the hardest part would be walking away. But the truth was, the hardest part came afterward, starting over with almost nothing, trying to rebuild a life while emotionally exhausted, trying to protect my children while secretly feeling terrified myself. I moved us into a tiny apartment in a town where I barely knew anyone. The apartment smelled faintly like old carpet and cheap paint, but it was safe. And after everything we had lived through, safe mattered more than beautiful. At first, I tried staying positive for my children. I smiled while unpacking boxes, made jokes during dinner, told them things were going to get better. But at night, after they finally fell asleep, the reality would hit me all over again. Bills stacked on the kitchen counter, rent due dates circled on calendars, constant fear running through my mind. I worked exhausting shifts during the day while trying to hold everything together emotionally. Most mornings started before sunrise. I would quietly get ready for work while the apartment stayed dark and silent around me. Then I'd wake the kids, get them dressed, rush through breakfast, and spend the entire day mentally calculating money I didn't have. How much gas was left, how much groceries would cost, whether the utilities could wait another week. Every decision felt heavy, and underneath all of it was shame. Shame that my life had fallen apart. Shame that I stayed in the relationship as long as I did. Shame that I couldn't provide the kind of stable life I wanted for my children. The emotional abuse from my relationship still followed me everywhere mentally. Even after leaving, I still heard those old words in my head. You'll never make it on your own. You're too weak. Nobody else would want this life. And honestly, some days I almost believed those lies. I still prayed at night, but my prayers stopped sounding confident. They became exhausted, short, quiet. Sometimes all I could say was, God, please help me. Then, one particular week pushed me to my breaking point, emotionally. First, my car broke down unexpectedly, on the way home from work. The repair estimate felt impossible. Then rent was due. Then my son needed medication I couldn't afford until payday. And finally, I opened the mailbox and found a final warning notice from the utility company. I remember sitting there, staring at that paper while my chest tightened with panic. That night after work, I sat alone in my parked car outside the apartment building because I couldn't even gather the energy to walk upstairs yet. The parking lot lights reflected softly off the windshield while I gripped the steering wheel, trying not to completely fall apart emotionally. And eventually, I did. I broke down crying harder than I had in years. Not dramatic crying, exhausted crying. The kind where your whole body feels worn down from carrying stress too long. I remember whispering quietly, God, I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. For a long time, I just sat there in silence afterward. The next morning, because my car was still unusable, I had to take public transit with the kids to get them to school before work. Everything already felt overwhelming before the day even started. My daughter was tired. My son wasn't feeling well, and I was mentally falling apart while trying to act calm. While waiting at the bus stop, an older woman sitting nearby looked over at me gently and said, "You look exhausted, honey." Normally, I would have smiled politely and brushed it off, but something about her voice felt safe, human, warm. I quietly laughed and admitted, "That obvious?" She smiled softly. Then she simply said, "I remember those years." That conversation lasted maybe 15 minutes. Nothing dramatic happened. She didn't preach at me, didn't make me feel pitied. She just listened, really listened. And honestly, I think I needed that more than I realized. Before leaving, she handed me the name of a small local church, community center nearby, and said, "They help people there, real people, no judgment." For several days, I kept the paper in my purse before finally deciding to go. And honestly, walking through those doors terrified me. I hated asking for help, but what surprised me most was how normal everybody felt. Nobody looked down on me. Nobody made me feel broken. Over time, the older woman slowly became part of my life, not in some dramatic way, just consistently. She would check in occasionally, help with childcare sometimes, recommend local resources, encourage me during difficult days. And slowly, through those small acts of kindness, something inside me began healing. The community center helped connect me with practical support too: affordable childcare, job opportunities, counseling resources, food support during difficult weeks. But honestly, the greatest gift wasn't financial help. It was dignity. For the first time in years, I stopped feeling completely alone. My children slowly started changing too. They laughed more, slept better, stopped looking so tense all the time. And seeing them finally feel safe again healed something deep inside me emotionally. Months later, I eventually found a better work opportunity with more stable hours and pay. Life still wasn't perfect. Some days were still difficult. Healing from emotional abuse takes time. There were moments where fear still resurfaced, unexpectedly. But little by little, hope returned. Not instantly, slowly, quietly. One evening, while watching my children laugh together in our small apartment, I suddenly realized something emotional. For the first time, in a very long time, I felt peace. Not because every problem disappeared, but because I no longer felt trapped. And maybe someone watching this tonight needs to hear that too. Healing doesn't always arrive through dramatic miracles. Sometimes God restores people through community, through kindness, through safe people, through ordinary compassion that slowly reminds someone they still matter. And if you're rebuilding your life right now, after heartbreak, fear, or emotional exhaustion, please don't mistake slow healing for failure. Sometimes surviving is already proof that God is carrying you.
If this story touched your heart today, comment below. God is rebuilding me. And if you've been carrying fear, shame, exhaustion, or heartbreak lately, please remember this. You are stronger than the pain you survived. Take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who may need encouragement tonight. Thank you for spending this time with God Showed Up Stories. And always remember, God always shows up right on time.